Life show hosted by Frederick Entenmann on Global Voice Radio on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern. During his show, Mind Body Life founder and best-selling author Frederick Entenmann investigates the little-known insights and daily methods used to create explosive life transformations and transitions with those that have risen from struggle and ascended to greatness. Here is your Mind Body Life host, Frederick Entenmann.
Welcome to the Mind Body Life show. I'm your host, Frederick Entenmann. I'm a former professional athlete, best-selling author of Surviving Sports in the Game of Life, a coach, consultant, and I help all walks of life, namely professional athletes, create lasting success outside of sports and win the game of life. Today is all about the power of your choices. And there's a quote by Dana Zohar that says, "Our free and undetermined moral choices and the worlds they co-author are like an electron's virtual transitions. They are experiments in reality creation." After coaching hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals to better mind, body, life, harmony, and success in their lives, one thing I've seen is the power of choices. This is so relevant because there's so many people not living fully aware and what I like to refer to as quote unquote awake. Every single day you make choices that either enhance your energy or honor or deplete it. So from deciding what and how much to eat, for example, to choosing how you talk to yourself and others, your life is really filled with unending options that energetically lead you in one direction or another. And you're either aware or unaware. You're either in control or not in control. Your honor and dignity are two of your most valuable commodities. So losing either could be the single most damaging influence on your personal energy field. When a relationship demands that you sacrifice these things, for example, even to a small degree, you lose a part of yourself. If enough honor or dignity is lost, you'll eventually lose your self-respect as well as the respect of your partner. And the resulting relationship turns into one of emptiness with a nagging sensation of that self-betrayal. It's quite unpleasant feeling if you've ever been there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a matter of honor first. Compromising your honor can happen in great or small ways, but even seemingly minor compromises will eventually lead to resentment and total dissatisfaction. Here's an example. A client of mine, we'll just call her Jane, started dating someone new, right? And after a few weeks, he explained to her that he was having some problems with his business, so they started going, Dutch. And that's around here in the Midwest, Dutch is each paying for his or her share of meals and entertainment. It's 50-50. Jane was very sympathetic that her guy was having financial difficulties, right? So she soon began to pay for his expenses as well as hers. And at first, this was an easy thing for her to do, by the way. And in time, however, she noticed that he was spending more money on personal things for himself while he was still allowing her to pay for both of them on their dates. So she wanted to actually say something, but since she found him desirable in every other way, she held her tongue. And Jane was afraid she'd lose him if she confronted him. As it became more and more apparent that his business problems were turning around, though, she kind of felt her resentment building. So the holidays came around about 9 months into the relationship approximately, and Jane was convinced that her boyfriend would show his appreciation for her at this time, naturally. But he didn't. All he gave her was some excuse about year-end taxes, which she tried to understand, of course, and she didn't want to be petty, and she certainly didn't want to end her relationship over, material things. So she remained silent. Well, he slowly started becoming stingy with other things like his affection and his time. And when Jane's birthday arrived and around, past the new year, January, February, somewhere in there, her boyfriend went out of town. He called to wish her back a happy birthday, but that was the only way he acknowledged her special day. And in February, when Valentine's Day was coming up, along with the New Year's anniversary of their first date, Jane suggested a special celebration. And the reaction she got really depressed her, but came as to no surprise. He gave her countless reasons why it couldn't happen, including not enough time and not enough money, not enough resources. So Jane felt totally deflated. And she walked away from that conversation wanting to cry, feeling as if she had a big aching hole in her chest. She felt minimized, she felt discounted, and totally confused, as you can imagine, and hopeless about continuing the relationship. In our session following this episode, I asked Jane if continuing to see this guy would be honoring to her. Would it promote her sense of dignity? I'd asked her this many times in the past, and at those times she'd always reacted defensively, going on into these, long rationalizations of her boyfriend's behavior. But this time the answer was an immediate and resounding no. As painful as it was to admit, she could no longer deny what had been true from the very beginning, and Jane now knew that she could no longer continue to see him and honor herself at the same time. So she finally realized she'd never been a very high priority to this man, and in fact, he'd been using her. In permitting this, she'd sent herself two very clearly destructive messages. I don't deserve to be a priority, and I don't value myself enough to insist on being treated well. But she was too in love to see what this was doing to her, right? And these messages were eating away at Jane's happiness. It wasn't that she needed material things at all. What she really needed was acknowledgement and appreciation. She was feeling worse about herself and more at a loss about what to do to fix it. And ultimately, her unhappiness became too overwhelming to even ignore. In this way, Jane had slowly but surely given away her dignity. She made all sorts of adjustments in her expectations in order to satisfy his. So the result was that she profoundly dishonored herself to the point of compromising her sense of her own worth and her ability to prioritize herself. Really a deadly combination in pursuing a relationship, folks. In spite of all that, she'd grown emotionally attached to this man. It was difficult for her, but she realized she had to leave in order to show herself and the universe, for that matter, that she was truly valuable and deserved better. And she ended the relationship determined never to sacrifice her honor and dignity again. I'll go back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast. The choice is yours. Every day we're faced with choices. And at the end of the day, it comes down to you. Question I had asked Jane was, does this relationship honor you? This must be the question you ask yourself, not only concerning relationships, but concerning everything in your life. Ask yourself, does this honor me? In other words, does this choice or situation bring honor to me and to my perception of myself? Does it make me feel honorable? Does it promote my sense of worth, value, and dignity? Or does the choice I'm making diminish these feelings? Since self-honoring is one of the most fundamental keys to your personal energy. It must become a major consideration in your life. If you begin to apply this question to every thought, every choice, and an action in your life, you really begin to make some very powerful and very empowering discoveries. If your behavior resonates with dishonoring choices, you won't be able to magnetize the happiness you desire. As with everything else, your choices determine the very direction of your destiny. So dishonoring choices magnetize dishonoring people in treatment. That's guaranteed. How can you determine whether or not you're making choices that honor you? All of your self-honoring choices will tend to promote your sense of dignity, personal and authentic power, and sense of balance. Sometimes the most self-honoring choices don't come easy and actually don't feel good at all. They may feel risky or difficult and uncertain. Other times, the most self-honoring choices will feel completely natural to you. They'll feel exhilarating, giving you a sense of liberation and that joyous self-actualization. So see the signs. I like to see, take a step back, observe, be silent, look for the signs. Self-honoring choices create a balance between just feeling good and feeling good about yourself. You may have a very altruistic personality, tending to take care of others and putting their needs ahead of yours. And intellectually, you may feel good about yourself for all of that humanitarian energy. On a deeper level, however, you may be giving yourself the message that I'm not worth putting myself in my life first, that my needs aren't important, I'm not valuable enough to take care of myself. So consistent repetition of these messages, it results in a profoundly negative effect on your personal energy field. People may appreciate your kindness, but it must be given in balance with compassion for yourself, or it will send the message, I don't honor myself. You may therefore dishonor me also. Energy doesn't lie, folks. You know, the opposite type of focus is equally dishonoring. To be self-absorbed, arrogant, or easily enraged may make you feel good temporarily, but these things rarely feed your sense of dignity. In the long run, the message you're giving yourself, as well as others, is I'm not powerful just as I am. I have to find my power in anger, control, or pretending to be superior. Arrogance and hostility are essentially activities of compensation designed to hide a deep emptiness that the person may not even be aware of. I've seen it so many times. I've been there myself. And such abrasive and unapproachable people actually sabotage their mistaken attempts at power and attract revulsion and disgust instead. Not a nice place to be. So being passive and submissive is equally as dishonoring as being hostile and arrogant. They're just at two spectrums, by the way. If you find yourself in one of these categories, consider your intention. Are you motivated by fear, need, or even obligation? If so, you'll never attract the kind of response you're looking for, actually, which is a genuine appreciation for who you really are. You must consistently choose to honor yourself throughout your daily life if you wish to create a healthy and attractive personal energy field. Even decisions or behaviors that have nothing to do with others can really vibrate with very clear information about the way you honor yourself, what you prioritize, whether you engage in addictive behavior, how and with whom you choose to spend your time. All these things are ways you could honor or dishonor yourself without even realizing it. Take a moment and think about your habits. Do you overindulge in anything? Do you use people in any way to try to feel better about yourself? Do you use substances or activities to numb your pain or escape your boredom? How do you spend your time? Spending all your leisure time running around, performing endless tasks without any relaxation or pursuit of personal interest. This dishonors you just as much as spending all your time off, sprawled on the couch watching television. Real self-honoring requires a balance of responsibility and preference and personal purpose. Some examples of real self-honoring choices include always taking responsibility for yourself and your choices, being honest with yourself and others, even when it feels risky, allowing yourself to express emotions, including anger, appropriately, permitting yourself to have reasonable expectations within any relationship and being willing to express them, making decisions that show a reverence for your life, your body, and physical and emotional health, being true to your spiritual values, having a healthy respect for your time and energy and peace of mind, learning to accept yourself and others without judgment, of course, desiring to be of service to others purely for the joy it brings to your life, and learning to be flexible and comfortable with change. Look, ultimately, a self-honoring choice displays the highest regard for your dignity and your physical and emotional well-being. It also shows a strong determination never to sacrifice these things for the sake of a lesser, but perhaps more immediately gratifying goal, such as creating or holding on to a relationship. Try to look for the hidden message. Another way to determine whether a choice really honors or dishonors you is to ask yourself the question, what's the message this choice is telling me about myself? Right? And for example, what message are you sending yourself if you choose to pursue a relationship with a married person? Such a choice will invariably compromise your honor in some way. You might find ways to justify it even, but the toxic messages that you send yourself or your partner in the universe that you're putting out there are unavoidable and clearly very demeaning. And, I'm talking about I don't deserve to be a priority in someone's life. I'm not valuable enough, so I have to settle for being second best, or I have to follow someone else's agenda in order to have any relationship at all. I don't deserve to be loved completely, so on and so forth. What do you think these messages do to your self-love and personal energy? I mean, what do you think they're telling your partner about how much you respect and value yourself? Remember that you broadcast information about yourself in every choice, and that information determines who or what you'll attract. So even if you never verbalize these messages out loud, their energy will eventually poison everything about the relationship, even when you perceive to be good about it. So without honor, virtually everything else in your life is empty. It's tainted and superficial. Your choice to dishonor yourself eats away at your connection to your soul, and only unhappiness can move outward from that choice. Another sensitive yet significant issue in the question of honoring choices concerns casual or even unprotected sex. Intellectually, people know the risks, that they tend to make all sorts of excuses, but a willingness to have unprotected sex in a new relationship virtually screams, I don't value myself or my health or my future. That's just an example through my coaching of what I've seen and heard. Not necessarily seen, but definitely heard. The message you're giving yourself and your lover, in spite of their reassurance or protestations is that their comfort and convenience are more important to you than your health and even your life. So, I use this example because it's very common. Having casual sex devalues you, for sex is never casual. It's your most intimate and precious gift, right? And one night stands send the message that you don't value your own sexuality and you're not worth being taken seriously, actually. So is that what you really want to say about yourself? I mean, there are also many, many potentially dishonoring choices. Now that's one of the top. That's one of the top that comes up a lot. There's those that may not have nothing to do with romantic relationships, but my point is you need to be aware of them if you really want to magnetize love, honor, and value into your life, which at the end of the day, everyone wants. Do you engage in any of the following? If so, I want you to ask yourself, what message do you think you're sending out? Because I'm going to go over a list of dishonoring choices, like lying, manipulating, or deceiving in any way to promote your own agenda, whether within a relationship or not. Repeated judgment and humiliation or criticism of self or others. Belittling, sarcasm, rage, or violence. Excessive or inappropriate anger. Using or abusing others, or allowing yourself to be used or abused. Ignoring the needs of your body, your mind, your psyche and spirit. Rigidity or inflexibility, and overindulgence, and of course, addiction. And, although some of these behaviors are clearly dishonoring, there's many situations where the self-honoring choice isn't so easy to distinguish. And in fact, no one can actually determine for you what is self-honoring or not. Everyone's different. So the decision about what honors you can be found deep within you and in your intention and your intuition. You must listen to your heart. And you must be brutally honest with yourself when asking whether something you're engaging in is really honoring to you and whether your intention behind it is honoring too. Honor and honesty have the same root word, and the two conditions can't be separated. If you refuse to take responsibility for your choices, you're lying to yourself about your own power. Real honesty requires courage and the ability to take risks, to have that magnetic energy that attracts really loving treatment. You must always have the courage to risk making the honest and self-honoring choice. So your refusal to honor yourself is based in need and fear. A devalued perception of yourself prompts you to manipulate, deceive, or even overcompensate. And although this strategy may seem to work for a while, it only ends up perpetuating the very emptiness that your dishonoring choice is actually trying to fill. I hope that makes sense. It explains a lot of behavioral responses due to psychology. And yet it's amazing to me how often we engage in dishonoring choices without even realizing it. We may be passive, take the easy way out, or play it safe. We may be manipulative, trying to promote our agenda in a fraudulent way even. Or we may be forceful or domineering and just mean-spirited. And all these approaches, we're unknowingly chipping away at our own self-esteem and making choices based on the underlying belief that we have no other option. And unfortunately, every time we act on that kind of assumption, we only magnetize more proof of it. Only going to get larger. You can run, but you can't hide. And such dishonoring choices, we're constantly sending ourselves toxic messages such as, I'm not worthy enough to speak on my own behalf, or the self-talk can include, I must always make other people happy in order to be loved, or I need to be deceitful or manipulative to get what I want, and even I have to overpower others or I'll have no power at all. And it's these kinds of messages that create a dark consciousness in our personal energy. So to the extent that we continue to engage in dishonoring choices, we carry that dark energy with us, either in a subtle current or in powerful blasts. And ultimately, it's that dark energy that colors the kind of treatment we'll attract from others. We're the source of our own hell or happiness ourselves. Making only self-honoring choices brightens our consciousness and translates into strong, healthy messages to and about ourselves. Our energy of self-love flows freely outward, creating a current of love that will flow freely back. So I want to urge you to change your energy now. To determine how honoring your choices are, think about any current situation or behavior you're involved in and ask, does this really honor me? And apply this to all sorts of decisions, great and small, until it becomes a habit. Try a 30-day challenge of this. It's really amazing. Don't take this lightly. This is actually the most dramatic thing you can do to improve your life. And the following steps will help you in the process of self-honoring. You can take a moment to sense how you feel about your choice and look for the emotional red flags that could indicate dishonoring, such as feelings of hurt or anger or resentment, and feeling used or minimized, or feeling that loss of dignity. If your spontaneous emotion is one of these feelings, it's very likely that you're engaging in some sort of dishonoring choice or experience. And ask yourself what other options you may have in a situation that would be more self-honoring. List all of them. Entertaining those options may cause you to feel guilt or a sense of risk or even a little fear. Often the most honoring thing we can do breaks our old patterns and leads us into an unknown territory. It really takes courage. When you've listed your options, pick the path that honors you. Even if it feels risky, you may wonder, what if I get rejected? Or what if someone gets mad? And just remind yourself that you must take the honoring path, that the quality of your life will actually depend upon it. And whatever possible, try to write about the situation and the many ways you could experience it. Ventilate your feelings. Practice how you would respond to people involved. Make your expressions as self-honoring as your choices. Meditate. Ask for guidance. Ask your higher self to give you the courage to carry out your self-honoring response. Just be quiet for 15 minutes. If people try to make you feel guilty or manipulate you in any way, remind yourself that a truly self-honoring choice is never dishonoring to others. It is never dishonoring to be truthful about your needs and feelings when that truthfulness is expressed compassionately. It's never dishonoring to be responsible for your own healthy attitude about yourself. If you can honestly answer in your heart of hearts, yes, this choice truly does honor me, then even if another may feel upset by your choice, in the long run, it can only honor them also. So self-honoring it's not a form of selfishness or arrogance. It's important to make this distinction. Every being is an entity, so to dishonor yourself is really to deny that, let's say, godness about you. And to be arrogant is deny that about others. It's time to bring this understanding into your life in very real ways. And then when you do, you'll feel the appreciation of the entire universe and every honoring choice. Here's another list of let's say, the honoring path. Here's some attitudes and affirmations that's going to help make self-honoring choices more of a way of life. I look at it as the fundamentals. Anything new into your life, there's going to be resistance because it's going to be uncomfortable. So write some of your own, repeat them often, then live their reality. But this takes practice, everyday practice of repeating. I deserve to make choices that honor me and maintain my self-respect. I always consider the energetic results of my choices and take responsibility for them. I deserve to be treated with respect and consideration within my relationships. I'm willing to voice this expectation whenever the need arises. As I make the choice to treat myself better, others will treat me better also. I'm willing to speak out in my own behalf. I deserve my own support. From now on, I'll always consider what honors me in my thoughts, words, and actions and make that a priority. I express myself with confidence. I make choices of courage. Every day in my situations, I ask myself, does this honor me? I listen to my intuition and I let it be my guide. I am learning to make decisions that show more respect for my body, energy, and health. I stand up for myself. I assert my needs. I create balance and harmony by making balanced and harmonious choices. I'm willing to take more risks in order to create more happiness in my life. I am one with the universe. To honor myself is to honor the universe. I'm courageous and capable. The law of magnetism is real. It's present and penetrating. Through it, you determine the direction of your life. It responds positively when your choices demonstrate both a high regard for fundamental worth and a deep awareness of your spiritual connection. So your worth is actually your truth. To dishonor yourself is to live a lie. You must affirm your worth in your perception of yourself and in your self-talk. And you must demonstrate it consistently in the ongoing decisions you make throughout your life. That's why if you don't have that going on now, I just made some examples of a list you can make, and you repeat those daily until it becomes automatic, like a free throw. It takes hundreds of thousands of reps before you can do that blindfolded, right? You can't force others to love or respect you through manipulation or submission. The only way you can attract real, authentic respect is by creating an energy of authentic, not arrogant, self-respect that resonates in your thoughts, your words, and actions and reactions. So the kind of partner you are to yourself is the kind of partner you will magnetize to your life. And the law of magnetism is strict but impartial. Okay, the universe hates it when you hate yourself because it has no choice but to return that energy to you. When you love yourself and choose to see yourself as the priceless, eternal being that you are, the universe rejoices and returns that love to you in a myriad of wonderful and really unexpected ways. But in order to get that real commitment from others, you must live your commitment to yourself. You must cultivate that commitment every day in everything that you do and choose. And those need to be in alignment with your values as well. So know that a life of self-reverence, it leads to a greater current of reverence in the world. And a refusal to diminish yourself is a refusal to diminish the current of appreciation in the world. And the universe appreciates that. So love always seeks to express and expand. And the energy of pure, real love truly does desire to come your way, but you must first let it know that it has welcome home in your heart, then your thoughts, and then your choices and actions and reactions. And that is basically the power of your choices. I hope you have learned something. I hope you have some new tools and skills that you can now take with you and practice. Ask yourself some self-reflecting questions. If this overwhelms you or you don't feel like you're ready and you've never had a coach before, I'm here for you. Please reach out. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Send me a message. I would love to work with you. That's it for episode 49. This has been wonderful, and I hope you tune in to another fantastic episode next week. Thanks, and take care.
Joining us. Listen every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to Frederick Intiman host Mind, Body, Life. Connect with Frederick at www.globalvoiceradio.com. Tune in next week for another edition of Mind, Body, Life on Global Voice Radio.